Thank you.
Nice to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, this is Chris's last meeting with you guys, I believe.
It is. It is. Well, all right, let's get this meeting on the road, shall we? First of all, I need to read our little disclaimer to you. I'm required to announce that this is an open meeting of the Board of Library Trustees, and it's being conducted virtually. There are no in-person attendees. Members of the public are invited to attend the meeting, and the agenda and online meeting link have been posted in advance as prescribed by law. And a recording of this message will be posted on the city's website as soon as possible after the meeting. So let me just call the roll just to see who we have here. I see Christine is here. Amy is here. Mrs. Straminsky is here. Mrs. Mangiarati, Mr. Reed, Mrs. Gould, Mr. Patel, Mrs. Lusk, Mrs. Svensson. We have a guest, Maureen Canner, and we have Mayor Paul Heroux. And so with that, I'll call the meeting to order. And I am Charlie Oliver, for those of you who might not have ever seen me before, which is doubtful. Just be familiar with where your mute button is. It would be both courteous and also better for the sound quality if we mute out any background noise, but certainly if you want to speak, unmute and speak up and make yourself known. So since the last time we met a month ago, a lot has taken place. Christine announced that she had accepted a position at another library. It's an ideal situation, as I'm sure she will explain. It's practically in her backyard, and her last day at Attleboro Public Library is this Friday, the 11th. That all kind of went down shortly after our last board meeting. So that is the story there. I would just like to say a few words about our illustrious leader while I have a chance. I want to tell you that I grew up in Long Island, and I enjoyed a good life there growing up and a privileged upbringing, I would say. But Long Island is a very Darwinian kind of survival of the fittest environment. It's very intense. And I only escaped it by marrying Wendy, and she lived in Bridgewater at the time. So I was able to get out of there. I can remember times when we would drive back home for the holidays. We'd drive across the Frog's Neck Bridge and we'd pull onto the Cross Island Parkway, and my blood pressure would instantly go up. It's a hard, aggressive driving that is kind of the rule down there in Long Island. And if you couldn't keep up, you'd better get out of the way. And Long Islanders want what they want, when they want it, which is now. And if you can't produce it, get out of the way. And survivors need thick skin, and they need an unflappable disposition in Long Island. So fast forward now to March of 2018, and Joan Pilkington Smith had announced that she'd be retiring. And think about the challenges which would be confronting her replacement. First of all, there was climate change. And by that, I mean that the climate inside the library was trying very hard to equalize with the climate outside the library. So we had a roof that leaked like a screen door. We had beautiful historic windows, circa 1900, that wouldn't close anymore, welcoming the incursion of air and water and the escape of heat. And then next on the list, we had an HVAC system, which was bleeding cash, and it was on life support, and it wasn't expected to live through the end of the year. We had a nervous staff who had never seen the hiring of a leader from the outside world since, near as I can tell, 1957. So there was a sense of uneasiness there. We had a library that was so short-staffed that we couldn't meet the minimum hours of service standards required for full state aid. And it was, by the way, budget season, and the perennial call had gone out from City Hall to level fund and not ask for any new hires. And I will tell you, I joined the board during the Robbins administration, and I don't think any mayor has ever asked us to add to staff. So no disrespect there, Paul, just that's the way the situation was and as it's been. Clearly, we needed an experienced director at that time. And we needed someone who was up for a challenge. We needed someone who was unflappable and who had thick skin. And my eyes fell on this resume among a pile of resumes. And it was a candidate who had cut her teeth in librarianship in Western Long Island. And I made sure that we would interview that person. And when we did, and when I heard that the Mystic Library had a cat, well, I knew this was the one. So Chris was not thrown by this lineup of challenges. If she was, she certainly didn't let on that she was. I hear an echo. I tried to be present to her in the first month or so when she came on board. And I offered to attend hearings. I offered to sit in on meetings with the mayor, but her very calm response was always, no thanks, I got this. And clearly she did. So Chris, I want to tell you on behalf of all of us, I'll miss your professionalism. I will miss your sneaky, subtle humor. You embraced our challenges and you've been a steady leader throughout all these ongoing solutions. And you've put up with too many shifts on the circulation desk. You've put up with COVID disruptions. You've put up with an invasion of building contractors and so much more. You've been a terrific advocate for Attleboro Public Library and at the city government level, and it's much appreciated. And you've been a loyal advocate for your staff as well. And I don't believe that there's anything we've asked of you which you have not delivered. So on behalf of all of us on the board, I offer you our congratulations on a job well done and our gratitude, and we wish you success in your new position. And if there's anyone else who has a word they'd like to say, and now's the time, step right up.
Well, I said mine before everybody got here, but Chris has been just terrific. I mean, I can't think of having a better director than Chris. She's so easy to, she's the first one to say, I'll do it. Don't worry, I'll do it. She never, ever does she make anybody feel uptight or, so I wish you the very, very best. And I hope that we get to see you. Hope you come back and visit when we can go out maybe for lunch or do something.
Yes, definitely. I thought in-person accolades were embarrassing, but I think Zoom accolades are worse because we're all just staring at each other's faces. But thank you. I really appreciate the kind words. And I'd like to say thank you to all of you, on the board and in the city. It has been a challenging couple of years, but it's been fun. It's been great to have a supportive board and a supportive friends group and a supportive mayor. So it's been a wonderful experience. And like I said to Paul, and like I said to Charlie, it was just an opportunity that came up. I honestly wasn't looking, it just found me. And I'm looking forward to coming back and seeing the building all renovated and everyone without masks on. That's my goal, is to come back and visit post-pandemic in a new building. And lunch sounds great. So yes, lunch would be lovely. Indoor dining, perhaps.
Mayor Paul, I saw your hand up.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, Chris, it was really nice to have worked with you the last couple of years. I can't say this about every department head, but I didn't get a single complaint about you ever. And that I cannot say about most department heads, fair or unfair, I get complaints about, but never a single one. That's what I can remember. So I just thank you for your professionalism. I never felt like, your department, the library department, was ever, poorly managed. I didn't even have to think about it, and we had our monthly meetings, and you always kept me up to date on what was going on, and I liked your engagement with the community. So you did an excellent job, and it's how, whatever's next for you, if I can help you, let me know. You helped us for a number of years, so I'm here to help you with whatever's next for you. So thank you.
Maureen.
Yeah, hi, Chris. I think I had been president of the Friends for about a year. I worked with Joan, and then Joan left, and you came in, and I was a little anxious about how this is going to go, but it was such a smooth transition. And I think on behalf of the Friends, I want to thank you for your dedication and commitment to our board. I think your partnership with our board has enabled us to achieve many of our goals and really expand our network further into the community. You've really been the consummate professional that has brought us so many resources and support. And as a result, we've had many new initiatives and activities. So myself as president of the board, and I have other Friends board members here, Linda and Trish and Eileen. I think I speak on your behalf that we thank you so much and wish you the very best.
Thank you, Maureen.
All right. Well, sadly, we have to conduct a little business, and I'm going to try to keep it short and simple. Anything I can table till next month, I will. But let's get our business done, and then we can relax. And I do expect to see Chris back, by the way. We have these weekly building meetings with the contractors, and everybody. First, we're sitting around the table. Now we all meet by Zoom at 9:30 on Tuesday morning. We talk about everything that's going on with the construction, and it's quite an undertaking. But there were a lot of kind words that were said on Tuesday's meeting this week, and it all kind of concluded with, okay, when this project is done, we want you to come back to, if we have a ribbon cutting or whatever it is we do to celebrate the fact that this job is done and we're open for business. We want you back for that. They want her back for that, and it's going to happen. So Chris, pencil it in, and we're pretty much on schedule. So
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
All right, let's get on to a little bit of business. Mahesh, how much money have we got in the bank?
Okay, yeah, plenty. In the Santander, we have 4,800. Sorry, $8,118.29, and we've been presented with Warren 6. Their expenses, and the big one that we are looking at is number 5, VT Cox Information Services, which is comes out from periodical, but Kristen can elaborate the expenses. Right?
Sure. That's the annual renewal cost for the majority of our magazine subscriptions. We use a consolidator, WT Cox. I think passed some information along, not at the last meeting, but the meeting before, where we changed from EBSCO to WT Cox to handle our subscriptions. So we kind of pay for all of the subscriptions in bulk.
Right. If you have any questions on any expenses, number 12, Ted Reinstein. I think it's for this month, tomorrow, right? On 12th.
It's December 17th. So we'll mail him the check once he actually shows up to do the Zoom, which I'm sure he will, but we never send the money before the program occurs. But we need to have it
It's
ready.
about New England road trip.
Okay, Everything else, looks-
Number 3, can secure surety. This is the bond for non-profit organization for dishonesty. Is that correct?
yes.
So that covers it.
Okay, so we also have, let's see, we don't have income to receive in, do we?
No, nothing. No.
Okay. So I realized that I skipped over the minutes, but let's deal with this. May I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented?
So moved.
A second,
Second,
any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Mahesh, do you want me to have that 3,900 transferred from Rockland?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. Will do. All right. Let's step back to the minutes. Any corrections to the minutes as presented? I have one question. Seems to me that if, Chris, back me up on this, if we receive a grant, an E-rate funding, we have to implement filtering within 1 year. Is it 1 year from the beginning of the fiscal year, July 1, 2021, or?
Yes, 1 year from when the funds are received. So by June of 2022,
Right.
it has to be in place.
So I'd just like the minutes to state must be in place by the end of June 2022. That was a correction of the previous minutes that I don't think we clarified. But if we could just make that one correction, is that clear, Tricia? Okay. And I might have had one other. That carries through to the second page, where it says that filtering must be in place by June at the end of unfinished business. The last thing it says, so we can correct that to say June 2022. With that one change, are there any other comments on the minutes? All right, then I will assume that the minutes are accepted as presented with those corrections. So I told Chris this morning in a meeting we had on technology that had she put her director's report together, and she said she was going to do it later in the day. And I said, well, just write down a few bullet points and don't knock yourself out for your last director's report. But why don't you highlight for us what you have? You're muted.
There we go. Let's try that again. Now you can hear me. So I did send out some emails already about what's the service that's happening at the library right now. So everyone knows that we were shut down for the week following Thanksgiving. And then we've decided from now through the Christmas holiday, which is the 23rd of December for the library, we'll be doing curbside services only. And it hasn't been publicly disclosed yet or made official, but the mayor has indicated that he plans to do a second city shutdown, likely starting on Christmas Eve and then going 10 days into the new year. That's what he's thinking of now. So then, of course, the library would be closed again during that time period. And we really haven't established a date as yet for when public will be back in the building. We're trying to just get through this surge period. We were having some real issues with staff prior to the shutdown, where it's kind of a revolving door of who was exposed, or we actually had one staff member with COVID, and we were very, very short-staffed. And it was really, we couldn't manage the building. At one point, our whole reference staff was out, basically. So I think until further notice, and of course, I'm handing over the baton, so it won't be my decision as much anymore. And the mayor was in agreement with the plan. Once we had paid for that expensive entire building cleaning, he felt it was a good move to make, to just kind of keep the building secure and clean. We can deliver the majority of services. Of course, we can't provide the public computer access, and that was the one thing that we did talk about briefly with our department heads. But they were finding that while there is some need for the computers, the majority of the cases, it's more of like, I need a copy made or a printout. And those are things that we can do via curbside as well upon request. So the safest way to go at this point, we felt, and just this week, the majority of sales libraries are following us now and going back to curbside. There was a director's meeting where they had that discussion, either from the town level or just the library boards themselves are making that decision. So that's kind of where we stand for now. I mean, honestly, I don't envision public in the building before the day after the Martin Luther King holiday, unless something dramatically improves in Massachusetts, and all indicators are not just at Massachusetts, but that everywhere things are going to get worse before they get better. So that's kind of where we stand as far as public services are concerned.
What's the status of state aid as far as hours of service and so forth?
Actually,
I imagine that's off the
yeah,
table.
I think everybody got did everyone get that email that came out from Mary, I can't think of her name, Oliver, what's her name, Amy? Her name is escaping me right now. But basically what we were told last spring, when before the fiscal year ended last year, that libraries did not need to worry about required hours of service, nor did they need to worry about the required materials expenditures. We were on track still for materials expenditures last year, and likely will be again this year. I mean, the city, we're lucky, some towns and cities have already been cut. We haven't gotten any municipal cuts, and obviously you haven't made any cuts to the budget. But all of those things that normally we would have to take that 3% state aid cut, because we're still not at the required amount of hours. We're at 56 and we're supposed to be at 59. But they're not even calculating that this year for the current filing. So the latest word is that we should be getting the full anticipated state aid, which was estimated about $65,000, which is great. So all of the material spending and things that we were planning to do, and especially now adding things like Hoopla, some of the more digital services that have become very important with everything being shut down. And as right now, the state has already disclosed that we're not going to really need to worry about this current fiscal year. So when we file the paperwork at the end of this year, again, they're not going to be looking at, the only thing they're going to be penalizing folks for is if a municipality treats the library any different than their other agencies. So if, everybody, all the other departments are kept with maybe a 5% cut, and then the library gets a 30% cut, that would be, they would be penalized for that. The community would be penalized in their state aid. But even if, say the city of Attleboro has to, across the board, everything's 10%, it wouldn't affect our state aid, at least, although who knows what the state aid will be. Hate to say it, a year from now, post-pandemic. So, but to answer your question very long-windedly, no one is being penalized this year for the materials or for the hours, with the understanding that they want communities to do what's safe. So if you need to close, if you need to do curbside, obviously everybody's circulation numbers are down, and all the other things that we do, numbers are just down. That's just the way of the world right now.
Okay, thanks.
And then the other key things that I wanted to mention, which I have listed under the director's report in general, is an update on the technology committee. And did you want me to do that, Charlie, or did you want to speak to that at all, as far as
You can speak
kind
to
of
that.
been involved? Okay.
Yeah, we have been preparing to submit a request for proposal, an RFP, for contractors to bid on, as far as doing our installation of wiring and equipment to upgrade our technology to, modern levels, which is going to be just great. We want to, we have quotes that we've received from one vendor that worked with us to try to scope out what it's going to need. What is the job going to look like? How many pieces of equipment do we need? How many access points? Who's going to run this for us? All kinds of things like that. We've got it on paper. We have a local Sensata retiree who is a very experienced network manager who is working with us to make sure that our RFP looks just like what needs to be seen by the contractors we want. It's forward-looking so that it meets not only current standards for technology, but also looks to the future so that we build a little future capacity in as well. We want to get this thing off the ground as fast as we can so that we can apply for E-rate funding. And the window for E-rate funding runs from January into March. So if we are going to get the project off the ground, we need that funding. If we are approved, which likely we will, that's exactly what this program is all about. We would be receiving an award that would be effective as of July 1st, the new fiscal year. And it's from that benchmark forward where we need to make sure we have our filtering. Looks like it can be built into the firewall that is part of this proposal. Anyway, the project is moving forward. So the next step is to produce the RFP, send it out to the world, alert the contractors we would like to see it, that it's out there for them to bid on. Hopefully we'll see a familiar face, but we can't favor anybody at this point. We have to put it out there through the according to the bidding rules, and that's happening. We're also talking about hiring a consultant who will take on the application project, make sure the RFP looks good, take that RFP and put together our E-rate application and see us through that whole process, which would be great. It would put a specialist in charge of the project at some cost, but not the end of the world. But it takes a lot of the pressure off staff who are not, technology experts. We don't have an IT person on our staff. So that's where that stands. We'll keep you posted as we go along, but it's very active and in motion. Any questions on that? By the way, the consultant that we're going to talk to on Friday is the one who brought the Attleboro school system through the E-rate process when all of that work was done several years ago. So, and continues to work with the schools. So I think that sounds like it could be a very good step for us. Any questions? Okay, carry on, Chris.
Okay. And then basically just an update on the building envelope. If you've been by the building, you see that the balconies are now off being renovated at an offsite facility where they're going to repair and repaint them. The scaffolding is up and roof work is scheduled to start any day now. They had COVID run through the roofing staff, so that kind of delayed those folks getting on site, and we had requested that all contractors that come on site have a Corey background check. So, that has also taken it a little bit slower, but we're told by the general contractor, Sergey, that roof work should be starting very soon. Next week, the the internal move for staff from the 4th floor technical services offices with the help of MIS will be completed, where they'll be working temporarily in the tech lab, which is the room behind the reference desk. And they will be there for the duration of the 4th floor work, which is supposed to run through the months of January and February. And then right after that, the elevator work is supposed to begin. So they'll likely stay in that same office until the elevator is repaired, since their job revolves around receiving all of the new materials and deliveries. So if we're going to have to go up the stairs with boxes, it makes more sense to go up and down one flight of stairs versus going from the 1st floor all the way up to the 4th floor. So we want to make sure that they're really well set and have everything that they need in that temporary space. So the furniture that we're going to be using is pretty much set there, and each staff member has gotten their own, personal stuff organized. So now we're waiting for MIS to do the computers and printers and all of that. And we're hoping, we're not hoping, but we've asked MIS to come in with a phone tech to see about the possibility of getting a phone installed in that room, because they do all of the ordering. They do need to speak to vendors, and with COVID and not wanting people to share phones and reference phones, so busy already, they really would need a phone in order to work in there effectively for 4 months. And then even after those 4 months, we're hoping at some point that's going to be a tech lab, and it's already a programming space. So just for safety reasons, it makes sense to have a phone in there anyway, so it won't be a lost cause to have that done. But we're just waiting to get the tech to come in and at least give a price, so we know what it would cost to have the phone put in. And one staff member in particular, Melissa Letellier, has done just an amazing job of cleaning out this, or organizing the clean out of this massive storage room, which is where this giant blower is. It's right across from where my office is, but there was like probably supplies in there since 1992, if not earlier, on shelves that needed to be gone through and tossed and recycled and given away and reorganized to empty out that room. It was like having to go into your grandmother's house, and you have a month to do it, but she got it done. It's amazing. And also, thinking forward to make sure that staff has all the supplies and things that we will need access to when, or I should say they will need access to, because I won't be there, when those rooms are unavailable. So when we lose access to tech services, we also lose access to the 4th floor restrooms, the director's office, that storage space, the regular supply closet. The only things, and this is all on the new side, the old side of the building will be accessible for staff, and we will have access to Mike's custodial closet, and on an emergency basis to the server room that is actually tucked into tech services, because we just could not move that equipment. But otherwise, I think, as mentioned by Charlie, the project is pretty much still, they say, on track for completion as planned by the end of July. I'd feel more confident about that if I actually saw people working on the roof, but I'm told that's happening very soon. So Amy, hopefully you'll start to see roofers out there very soon. And the contractors have access, their own access to the building at this point. They've been given a set of keys and alarm code. So even if and when, we're not there, like when we had the shutdown and staff was hardly there, they can get in and do what they need to do. One person, particular site superintendent, is the one who has that access. And his office is now in the cellar, just a physical office.
I think it's interesting to note that the contractors all take COVID very seriously and follow their own set of protocols. I've noticed this also. I'm happen to be in on a building project that Sturdy Hospital is doing right now that's nearing completion. The building was supposed to be ready at the end of December. It looks like it might be off by a week or 2 or 3 as a result of COVID delays. But that project took about a year, and it was well planned, and COVID protocols were followed, and it is essentially on track. And it looks like, when you get into the weeds of this project, you know, they're taking that very seriously. We haven't seen a whole lot of delays. There was a cluster of COVID cases on the, among the roofers, apparently, that set them back for, or positive tests, I want to say, that set them back maybe a couple of weeks. But that's all I can think of at this point. So I think, unless somebody tells us something
I mean,
different,
like, we had temporary workers there. Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
we
I
had the
think it will.
scaffolding folks there, and they weren't following some of the protocols. So we did reach out to the site superintendent and to our project manager and just reiterated that it was important that, you know, they do follow, that they do wear their masks. And we also added, we're a non-smoking site. So, but they very quickly responded, you know, both the project manager and the general contractor. So they know what we expect going forward. So I don't anticipate that we'll have any issues. And to mention Long Island, I don't know if Charlie knows this or not, but Evan, our project manager, is from Long Island as well, from your neck of the woods, up in the northern Suffolk. I forget what town in particular, but he's from.
But I knew he was a good man.
Yeah. He lays down the line there, yeah. And those were kind of the main things that I had to discuss, other than the, you know, the specific items that we have listed down here. I just mostly wanted to know if anybody had questions for me. I did send out a document, which I don't know if you had a chance to look at. Charlie had asked me to put together a document that just from different grant monies that is in, well, he was asking in particular for the technology, but this is a document that goes over all of the different grant funds that are being held in the Friends account. And that's because these grants were applied for using the Friends 501c3 nonprofit status. These are grants that we couldn't otherwise apply for. So I did send out that PDF. I could screen share it if you have questions, or I'll leave that up to Charlie what he wants to do, if he wants me to.
My only other question after that was a tally of the state aid funds that the city is holding at the moment. If
For capital improvements.
yes,
Okay, yeah, can easily get that. I have that back at the office.
just so we don't lose track of that. Okay. And any other questions on that? All right. Any questions for Chris? Okay. Let's see. Unfinished business, the filtering, I think I'm gonna, unless somebody has something to bring out on that tonight, I'm gonna table that for a month. Any reports from staff on software or anything like that? Don't need to deal with it tonight anyway, so let's not deal with it.
No, I mean, we finally got a few names, a few libraries have gotten in touch with us to say what they're using. I mean, some are things that we couldn't afford for larger libraries or need more technical input than we would be able to have. So I think, well, even just from today's discussion, you know, as Charlie mentioned, it looks like it's something that can be combined with the firewall. So the biggest issue there is to find out what the cost is going to be. So we're still working on that.
Any questions on that? All right, then the next thing on the list is the BrainFuse tutoring software we talked about last month, as I recall. Can you give us an update on that?
Yes, so we did send it out to the schools, and they were in favor of it. They did want to, I mean, they didn't have any reason that we shouldn't do it, but they did want to clarify for us that the students that are fully remote do actually have access to a tutoring service that's tied into, and I always forget the name, but I'm sure Toby or Amy could jump in with the name of what they call it, the folks that are fully remote, that they can access through that remote learning software that they're using. But all the other students don't have that access nor do any of the private school or just homeschool students. So the schools were in favor of it, and they're very willing to help us promote it. The Literacy Center was very excited about it, and staff took a look at it, and everyone thought it would be a good product to try at least for this year. So that's the plan. We've started the process of mobilizing it, sent in the paperwork, and it should theoretically it could be live in about a week, but we're planning to announce it with a new year release date to give people a chance. Yes, ABA, that was the term I always forget. Toby just put it in the chat. So yeah, only the students that are fully remote, which I thought was unusual. I would have thought everyone would have had an opportunity, but anyway. So this would definitely be a tool that a lot of the other students would still need, since not everybody is fully remote this year. So that is definitely moving forward. I guess when we get the invoice, Charlie, you had indicated potentially Chirenza, but if you want that to be any different, I guess just communicate that to Amy and to Carol.
Okay, it seems to me that's the perfect place to charge it. So we'll talk about that when the time comes. Okay, any questions on that?
When does it start, Christine?
Well, it should actually be, they're working on, getting it set up for us, because they're going to reach out to Carrie, and they have to get our library card prefixes and numbers to make sure that it's, you have to have a library card in order to access it. So they said it takes about a week. So it should be available in about a week, but we're not really going to promote it until the new year. As far as in our marketing, we're going to wait and announce it for the new year as available.
Is it going to be available
school
to all grade levels? Is it going to be across the board, all grade levels?
It starts at grade 3. There's nothing in there for students younger than grade 3.
Okay.
They will need, they will need actually an Attleboro library card, because of the way the vendor works it. I mean, actually, now that you mention it, that's something I want to ask Carrie. We might potentially be able to make it available to Attleboro High School students, since they are also a sales. So we might be able to have both cards in there. So that's a good point. I'll bring that up with Carrie. I mean, it's the same population, everything's based on population, but these are folks that live in the same city. So I don't imagine that they would balk at having both of those prefixes in there. And that would probably make it easier for those students to more quickly get access. But temporary library cards will work as well. Like we did when we were closed for those 2 months. We encouraged anyone that needed access to services to just get a temporary library card. And we made sure that that was accessible. All of our resources were accessible to someone with a temporary card. So, obviously they couldn't get into the building. I'm just making a note, so I remember to ask Carrie.
Okay, any more questions on that? Thank you very much. Let's look at new business. One of our no trespass patrons has returned. That is to say, he has written a letter. I've seen the letter. Chris has seen the letter. He would like to be readmitted to the library. Chris, not long before the meeting, I think, sent out a photo of his letter, if I'm not mistaken. I can't think of his name at the moment. I don't have it in front of me.
Norman Finney.
Norman Finney. And I guess my only concern would be that staff is comfortable. If staff feels comfortable with his presence in the building, can Amy or you address your thoughts on that?
I actually asked Amy to speak to this because obviously she would be the one.
I don't think that the staff is comfortable with him in the building. I think that right now, when the building is open to patrons, there's a lot of work just getting our everyday patrons to wear their masks and to keep to the 30-minute time limit and to keep folks calm when they're frustrated with computers. Also, one of the issues we had with Norman when he was coming in regularly is that he would be spoken to about certain infractions, and he would just be back later that afternoon, the next day with the same infraction again and again. And that was what we found when he wrote the letter. There's at least 4 staff members he talked to about how to sort of apply to have his privileges brought back. And we just had to keep saying it again and again and again. I don't know that he understands what we are asking of him.
Okay.
I think it's very simple. If the staff is not comfortable or feel in a way threatened because of COVID, then we should just prohibit him from entering the library.
Any other comments?
Well, we don't want to ban him for life. So what do we do? Say a year, another year, or do we give a time frame on it?
I'm wondering if is he aware of the fact that he can't get into the building anyway at this point in time? And if indeed the building totally opens up, then maybe we should more or less say at that point in time, we will look at this whole situation again. But right now he can't get in anyway.
Right.
And so, and when I mean open up, I mean open up totally. When the whole building is now opened up with the free flow of people, at that point in time, perhaps he could make another attempt to be reinstated. But I don't think when things are limited, it's a good idea. My 2 cents.
Amy, could you elaborate a little bit? This started before COVID, these problems
yes.
began?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had an
He
issue.
might not know the history.
Right. So he had a long history of problematic in the building. He made staff uncomfortable just with the questions that he asked and the comments he made about new babies, about, oh, I saw you walking your pet, I know where you live, like that sort of stuff. And then he was, we believe he was stealing from the book nook, whether it was items or putting his hand in the cash box. And we spoke to him about that quite frequently. And then there was the tire slashing when he had his privileges revoked because of how many times we talked to him about being in the book nook. At a big read event, at one of the events, he went and slashed the tires of vehicles all along one row of parking, many of them board members. And it was all on tape. Like it was all on the video, caught on the video camera. So.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's got a lot of issues. And the staff is very, nobody wants to kick anybody out for life, but we're also concerned he just doesn't understand the consequences of his actions.
True, but I'm hearing that he's threatening and doing harm to people's vehicles. He understands that much. That's very concerning.
Yeah, and he was spent almost a year in jail. In fact, he would still be in jail if it wasn't for COVID. He got early release. He was one of the folks they let out because of, they were letting folks with higher risk. He's older, he has physical conditions. So his sentence was shortened.
Wow. Very serious. Wow.
And Toby, Sergeant Baudet is very well aware of Norman and his history in the world and with us.
Well, it doesn't sound like we're very comfortable having him back on the premises, assuming we open tomorrow. Sounds like the consensus would be that's a no. We should give him a time limit or talk to us again in how many years?
Would it be possible to get a letter from you, Charlie?
Absolutely.
Okay, because if I feel like, no matter how many times we communicate things to him, it would be helpful to have, I think, it in writing from the board, so he knows that, yes, you guys did discuss it, that we're not just pretending that there was a discussion and that, the letter's coming from the Board of Trustees.
Okay. We could just leave
I think
a time frame off of it completely and just not address that. And if it comes back, well, we can deal with it, but I wouldn't do it anytime soon, especially under COVID protocols, assuming we opened the building in June. The virus is going to be around for a long time. We can't supervise. I think if we're still operating under any kind of protocols for COVID, it's going to be just one more step harder to supervise what he's up to if he's in the building. So it's like not anytime soon in my mind, and maybe we just don't address the time. If he comes back to us, what do we tell him? Talk to us in 5 years. It's hard to know. I don't
I know.
presume that any of us know the answer to that.
Well, my feeling is if the staff, I think it's up to the staff. If they don't feel comfortable with him, I don't think he should be back at all.
Yeah, I think if you word the letter just for the time being, you're not allowed, and just leave it at that, and
Yeah,
then
and
we
then
make a
hope-
decision as we go along.
Okay,
Well, maybe just a little indication, because he'll ask, he'll keep calling us. He keeps calling. So maybe just say like, no sooner than June or whatever you guys decide, only because I think he's going to call every day. Like, is it soon enough? Can I write my letter now? Is it soon enough?
oh,
That's
God.
what he does. I mean, that's just the way he is. I don't know,
Yeah.
alcoholism or what it is, but it's just, I think he needs to have, and we all need, everyone needs to have the same answer to give him, is what I'm trying to say. So if it's something in writing, and then all staff know what was in writing, and everybody repeats the same answer to him, I think it'll make it easier for everyone.
all right. Well, I'll be happy to take that on. I'll consult with Amy if I need to. But we'll make sure that he's not back in the building anytime soon. I'll tackle the interim director item on the agenda. And Chris, you can supplement anything I say for sure. And Amy, you too. I just wanted to give you a little background on how this all happened, time frame, and what has been done. I tried to keep you up to date, and I think I haven't missed any details there, but I'm pleased to say that the city hopped right on this as soon as Chris's letter was in. The mayor immediately instructed the personnel director to dig out our job description and get it out there for as quickly as possible for both internal and external posting. That was done. There was a delay of only a day or two, I think, before that actually went out. So that is good. Everybody is good with, by the way, that window is closed now. We have received, I lost count, it's either 10 or 11 resumes. I appointed a committee of 3 helpers to sort those with me: Toby, Diane, and Beth. Saw the resumes, and I think I sent them 6. And we came up with 3 people that we felt we would like to interview. And we turned that information over to the mayor. It's ultimately the mayor who decides who gets hired. But the mayor is very inclusive in that whole process. He wants to hear what we say. He wants to have us participate in the screening and interviewing process. We're going to do like we did last time when Joan left, and we're going to do this with a small group if we follow the same procedures, and it sounds like that's what the mayor wants to do. And then if it comes time for a final interview, I think at that point, I forget exactly how it happened, but it seems to me the whole board got a chance to get their 2 cents worth in that experience. Is that how you remember it, Diane?
I believe, yeah, we did.
That's how I remember it.
Was it
Yeah.
full? The full committee interviewed
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
committee and then the full board at the second.
Oh, yeah.
interview,
and the
And
full
it was
board,
a
I meant. That's what I
presentation.
meant.
So that process is moving along at a brisk pace. Amy has stepped up to be the interim director. She's been shadowing Chris a lot. Chris expressed to me that it was a huge priority for her to make sure that Amy gets the best handoff that she possibly can get. So I know for a fact that that's happening. I've had a chance myself to talk to both Amy and Chris one-on-one, and I'm very happy with the way things are going. So we'll have, I think, a fairly smooth transition and a fairly quick process of hiring a new director. And I'm not going to tell you who the candidates are. 3 of you know. It's just, this is a meeting that's open to the public, and I'm not willing to share that information now. If you want to know, who put their hat in the ring, talk to me on your own. But anything that Chris or Amy would like to add to what I've said?
I would just say that you are correct in saying that Chris and I have spent an awful lot of time, not just in the last few weeks, but in the last few years, keeping each other informed of what's going on. And I told Chris the other day, I already feel better about this interim position than I did a few years ago. So we'll hold down the fort.
We know you will, and we're confident, Amy, hear from us right now that we're all confident in your ability to do that. So no question from us.
Absolutely.
And I have Chris's phone number, so.
Chris has promised to be readily available if we need her help on anything. So
Since it was such a short time period, just the 4 weeks, and just to clarify that for the rest of the trustees, I did discuss it with Charlie. It was contingent for me to take the new position that I had to start before the end of the year. So that's why, otherwise I would have tried to give more notice. So I really have been dumping stuff on Amy. And I said, like, a lot of this you're not going to need like this month. You may need it in 6 months. So I said, please do reach out when you get to the point when that topic comes up, because you know how it works. Sometimes it's things that only happen once a year. But anything that I found a surprise in the job, and just anything that was critical to the job, I've tried to pass along right now with the understanding that, she's welcome to reach out if there's questions when it actually comes up in the daily day-to-day at the library.
I will say also that as people step up, City Hall is well aware that creates a vacuum at the bottom, and they're prepared to fill that. So they're well aware of, the fact that we're going to be down a person for a period of time. Hopefully it'll be a short period of time. Anyway, as Owen has been instructed to set up the interviews. So I haven't seen evidence that he's done that yet, but that should be imminent. So I will keep you informed as to when things start to happen, but we're rolling along at a brisk pace. So we can do this. So any more questions, comments, thoughts? All right. Chris, you haven't heard the last from us. We'll have a few more parting words for you when we're going to have our ducks all in a row, but it's been truly a pleasure working with you. I'll talk to you before you're out the door, but I want you to know she's working right down to the wire here, full speed ahead. So.
It's been a pleasure working with all of you, and I appreciate, you giving me the opportunity. It's been a great time. It's a great community, and I wish everyone well and happy holidays. And, you know, seriously reach out if there's any questions, especially now in a Zoom environment. If you needed me, it's a public meeting. You know, if there wasn't even a board meeting that you needed me to attend for some reason or provide information in advance, you know, please reach out. One of the last things I'll do is send out my personal information again, which I know is already, I think, on the board list anyway, but I'll just send a final reminder email. And if you're in Waterford and the library's open, which it's not now, it's curbside only, please stop in.
Will do. All right, people, I think that's, unless anyone else has something to bring up, I think we are through for the night. We'll all be chattering as we have been, so keep following your email. And stay healthy, and glad to see you all. So I'll call I'll adjourn the meeting at this point. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying bye to Chris.
Okay,
Bye, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
take care, everyone. Chris, we'll talk to you. Meeting adjourned.
Okay.